Chapter 4 of 813. This recording is in the public domain. 813 by Maurice Leblanc. Chapter 4. Prince Sernine at work. A ground-floor flat, at the corner of the Boulevard Haussmann and the Rue de Courcelles. Here lived Prince Sernine. Prince Sernine, one of the most brilliant members of the Russian colony in Paris, whose name was constantly recurring in the arrivals and departures column in the newspapers. 11 o'clock in the morning. The prince entered his study. He was a man of 38 or 40 years of age, whose chestnut hair was mingled with a few silver threads on the temples. He had a fresh, healthy complexion, and wore a large moustache and a pair of whiskers cut extremely short, so as to be hardly noticeable against the fresh skin of his cheeks. He was smartly dressed in a tight-fitting frock-coat and a white drill waistcoat, which showed above the opening. "Come on," he said, in an undertone. "I have a hard day's work before me, I expect." He opened a door leading into a large room where a few people sat waiting, and said: "Is Varnier there? Come in, Varnier." A man looking like a small tradesman, squat, solidly built, firmly set upon his legs, entered at the summons. The prince closed the door behind him. "Well, Varnier, how far are you?" "Everything's ready for this evening, governor." "Good. Tell me in a few words." "It's like this. After her husband's murder, Mrs. Kesselbach, on the strength of the prospectuses which you ordered to be sent to her, selected as her residence the establishment known as the Retreat for Gentlewomen, at Garches. She occupies the last of the 4 small houses, at the bottom of the garden, which the management lets to ladies who prefer to live quite apart from the other boarders, the house known as the Pavillon de l'Impératrice." "What servants has she?" "Her companion Gertrude, with whom she arrived a few hours after the crime, and Gertrude's sister Suzanne, whom she sent for to Monte Carlo and who acts as her maid. The 2 sisters are devoted to her." "What about Edwards, the valet?" "She did not keep him. He has gone back to his own country." "Does she see people?" "No, she spends her time lying on a sofa. She seems very weak and ill. She cries a great deal. Yesterday the examining magistrate was with her for 2 hours." "Very good. And now about the young girl." "Mademoiselle Geneviève Ernemont lives across the way, in a lane running toward the open country, the 3rd house on the right in the lane. She keeps a free school for backward children. Her grandmother, Madame Ernemont, lives with her." "And, according to what you wrote to me, Geneviève Ernemont and Mrs. Kesselbach have become acquainted?" "Yes. The girl went to ask Mrs. Kesselbach for a subscription for her school. They must have taken a liking to each other, for during the past 4 days they have been walking together in the Parc de Villeneuve, of which the garden of the Retreat is only a dependency." "At what time do they go out?" "From 5 to 6. At 6 o'clock exactly the young lady goes back to her school." "So you have arranged the thing?" "For 6 o'clock to day. Everything is ready." "Will there be no one there?" "There is never any one in the park at that hour." "Very well. I shall be there. You can go." He sent him out through the door leading to the hall, and, returning to the waiting-room, called: "The brothers Doudeville." The 2 young men entered, a little overdressed, keen-eyed and pleasant-looking. "Good morning, Jean. Good morning, Jacques. Any news at the prefecture?" "Nothing much, governor." "Does M. Lenormand continue to have confidence in you?" "Yes. Next to Gourel, we are his favorite inspectors. A proof is that he has posted us in the Palace Hotel to watch the people who were living on the 1st-floor passage at the time of Chapman's murder. Gourel comes every morning, and we make the same report to him that we do to you." "Capital. It is essential that I should be informed of all that happens and all that is said at the Prefecture of Police. As long as Lenormand looks upon you as his men, I am master of the situation. And have you discovered a trail of any kind in the hotel?" Jean Doudeville, the elder of the 2, replied: "The Englishwoman who occupied one of the bedrooms has gone." "That doesn't interest me. I know all about her. But her neighbor, Major Parbury?" They seemed embarrassed. At last one of them replied: "Major Parbury, this morning, ordered his luggage to be taken to the Gare du Nord, for the 12:50 train, and himself drove away in a motor. We were there when the train left. The major did not come." "And the luggage?" "He had it fetched at the station." "By whom?" "By a commissionaire, so we were told." "Then his tracks are lost?" "Yes." "At last!" cried the prince, joyfully. The others looked at him in surprise. "Why, of course," he said, "that's a clue." "Do you think so?" "Evidently. The murder of Chapman can only have been committed in one of the rooms on that passage. Mr. Kesselbach's murderer took the secretary there, to an accomplice, killed him there, changed his clothes there, and, once the murderer had got away, the accomplice placed the corpse in the passage. But which accomplice? The manner of Major Parbury's disappearance goes to show that he knows something of the business. Quick, telephone the good news to M. Lenormand or Gourel. The Prefecture must be informed as soon as possible. The people there and I are marching hand in hand." He gave them a few more injunctions concerning their double rôle as police inspectors in the service of Prince Sernine, and dismissed them. Two visitors remained in the waiting room. He called one of them in. "A thousand pardons, doctor," he said. "I am quite at your orders now. How is Pierre Leduc?" "He's dead." "Aha!" said Sernine. "I expected it, after your note of this morning. But, all the same, the poor beggar has not been long. He was wasted to a shadow, a fainting fit, and it was all over. Did he not speak?" "No." "Are you sure that, from the day when the two of us picked him up under the table in that low haunt at Belleville, are you sure that nobody in your nursing home suspected that he was the Pierre Leduc whom the police were looking for, the mysterious Pierre Leduc whom Mr. Kesselbach was trying to find at all costs? Nobody. He had a room to himself. Moreover, I bandaged up his left hand, so that the injury to the little finger could not be seen. As for the scar on the cheek, it is hidden by the beard." "And you looked after him yourself?" "Myself. And, according to your instructions, I took the opportunity of questioning him whenever he seemed at all clear in his head. But I could never get more than an inarticulate stammering out of him." The prince muttered thoughtfully: "Dead. So Pierre Leduc is dead. The whole Kesselbach case obviously turned on him. And now he disappears. Without a revelation, without a word about himself, about his past. Ought I to embark on this adventure, in which I am still entirely in the dark? It's dangerous. I may come to grief." He reflected for a moment and exclaimed: "Ah, who cares? I shall go on, for all that. It's no reason, because Pierre Leduc is dead, that I should throw up the game. On the contrary, and the opportunity is too tempting. Pierre Leduc is dead. Long live Pierre Leduc! Go, doctor, go home. I shall ring you up before dinner." The doctor went out. "Now then, Philippe," said Sernine to his last remaining visitor, a little gray-haired man, dressed like a waiter at a hotel, a very tenth-rate hotel, however. "You will remember, governor," Philippe began, "that last week you made me go as boots to the Hôtel des Deux Empereurs, at Versailles, to keep my eye on a young man." "Yes, I know. Gérard Baupré." "How do things stand with him?" "He's at the end of his resources." "Still full of gloomy ideas?" "Yes, he wants to kill himself." "Is he serious?" "Quite. I found this little note in pencil among his papers." "Ah," said Sernine, reading the note, "he announces his suicide. And for this evening too. Yes, governor, he has bought the rope and screwed the hook to the ceiling. Thereupon, acting on your instructions, I talked to him. He told me of his distress, and I advised him to apply to you. 'Prince Sernine is rich,' I said. 'He is generous. Perhaps he will help you.' All this is first rate. So he is coming?" "He is here." "How do you know?" "I followed him. He took the train to Paris and he is walking up and down the boulevard at this minute. He will make up his mind from one moment to the other." Just then the servant brought in a card. The prince glanced at it and said to the man: "Show M. Gérard Baupré in." Then, turning to Philippe: "You go into the dressing-room, here. Listen and don't stir." Left alone, the prince muttered: "Why should I hesitate? It's fate that sends him my way." A few minutes later a tall young man entered. He was fair and slender, with an emaciated face and feverish eyes, and he stood on the threshold, embarrassed, hesitating, in the attitude of a beggar who would like to put out his hand for alms and dares not. The conversation was brief. "Are you M. Gérard Baupré?" "Yes. Yes, that is my name." "I have not the honor. It's like this, sir. Some one told me." "Who?" "A hotel servant, who said he had been in your service." "Please come to the point." "Well. ..." The young man stopped, taken aback and frightened by the haughty attitude adopted by the prince, who exclaimed: "But, sir, there must be some. Well, sir, the man told me that you were very rich and very generous, and I thought that you might possibly. ..." He broke off short, incapable of uttering the word of prayer and humiliation. Sernine went up to him: "Monsieur Gérard Baupré, did you not publish a volume of poetry called The Smile of Spring?" "Yes, yes," cried the young man, his face lighting up. "Have you read it?" "Yes. Very pretty, your poems, very pretty. Only Do you reckon upon being able to